This is a sad time for Oklahoma State University in Stillwater. It is a time to remember, a time to mourn, and a time to embrace. We are here tonight to embrace the family members of Marvin and Bonnie. We are here to embrace the students, faculty, staff, and friends who were touched by their lives. While we are here to remember the Stones, we also have heavy hearts for the other victims and families of the terrible events that occurred here in Stillwater on October 24th. We embrace those who are mourning the loss of little Nash Lucas and Miss Nikita Nicole. I did not know these two people, and yet their smiles shown in the photos that I've seen will be lasting images I will carry with me for the rest of my life. They were special people, and their absence will deeply affect many. Tonight, we also remember and embrace those injured, those who witnessed the events of Saturday, and those who stepped forward to offer assistance in many different ways. Bonnie Jean Flowers Stone was born in Denver, Colorado on February 19, 1950. She earned an associate's degree in journalism from Otero Junior College in La Junta, Colorado in 1970. She went on to earn a BA in archaeology from Colorado State University in 1972. She married Marvin Stone in 1970. Marvin Lyle Stone was born in Denver, Colorado on June 22, 1950. He earned an AA from Otero Junior College and then the BS and MS degrees in agricultural engineering from Colorado State University in 1973 and 1977, respectively. He went on to earn the PhD in engineering science from Washington State University in 1982. They came to Stillwater in 1982 and have been members of the Oklahoma State community ever since. Just as they lived their lives together, they passed away together on October 24th, 2015. A Regents Professor Emeritus, Marvin was an OSU faculty member for 24 years, serving with distinction in the OSU Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources, Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering Department from 1982 to 2006. Marvin is known worldwide for his leadership in developing common protocols for communications between electronics of different makes of agricultural equipment. He was an inventor as well as a team leader, and he spawned innovations by others in the way he shared ideas with students and colleagues. He is well known for his role in the development of green seeker technology, which uses sensors and processors to determine nutrient needs of crop plants. This innovation helps to ensure that farmers are not wasting money on fertilizer not needed by crops and applying just enough to serve the plant needs, thereby minimizing environmental runoff of nutrients. GreenSeeker was honored in 2002 with an award from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Marvin also helped to develop the concept and partnership with the University of Oklahoma to establish the Oklahoma Mesonet, which is a valuable resource for farmers, ranchers, public safety officials, and land managers across the state. The university recognized Marvin as its 2005 recipient of the OSU Eminent Faculty Award, the highest distinction given to a faculty member. He was the 2003 recipient of the Sarkey's Distinguished Professor Award, one of Dasner's most prestigious honors. Additional honors included being named the recipient of the OSU Regents Distinguished Teaching Award in 2002, presented to the university's top instructor, and the university's Regents Distinguished Research Award in 2003. Marvin was named the Halliburton Outstanding Faculty Member by the OSU College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology in 2001. Bonnie was serving as coordinator of Student Information Systems Operations and Training for the OSU Institutional Research and Information Management Office at the time of her passing, a position she assumed in 1998. She was a certified payroll professional, which she achieved in 1993. Known as a people person, Bonnie was a friendly face, a patient mentor, and a knowledgeable expert assisting deans, directors, department heads, academic advisors, faculty, staff, and students, and parents. Always helpful, many people across the university considered her to be an unofficial member of their unit. Marvin and Bonnie loved animals, large and small. Bonnie was raised with horses, and she kept a horse for many years. Marvin was known to have a soft spot for dogs. They loved to explore the world and regularly went backpacking, camping, scuba diving, and snorkeling throughout the United States and abroad. Members of Dr. and Mrs. Stone's family are here with us this evening. They include Laura Stone, Marvin's mother, Connie Stone, Marvin's brother, Len Stone, brother to Marvin and his wife Nola, Beth Pelton, sister to Marvin and her husband Rick, nephew Randy Stone and his wife Angie, with children Daisy, Jalen, and Laney, nephew Chris Stone and his wife Carla, niece Laura Berry and her daughters Sydney and Riley, niece April Hulskamp and her husband Chris. And from Bonnie's family, we are joined tonight by Riley Ricken. She's a member of the women's softball team at Southwestern Oklahoma State University, and her team members are with her here tonight as well.
Thank you, Dr. Koon. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. First of all, I recognize that some of you knew Marvin as well or better than I did. So I'm going to share some of my personal experiences, and I'll really just be scratching the surface of what could be said about this wonderful man that we knew and loved. Marvin was one of the most intelligent and knowledgeable people I've ever known. He was a walking encyclopedia. His friends and colleagues could ask him about anything. Over the years, I bothered him with questions on computers, car repair, and appliances, just to name a few. He was an engineer's engineer and the go-to guy in our department when we had questions off the beaten path. Marv also had a lot of knowledge on things like history and geography. He never ceased to amaze me. Marvin had an uncommon ability to grasp and define a problem and think through it logically and creatively. He was a truly outstanding researcher and was tremendous in understanding both the theoretical and practical sides of a problem. Also, Marvin was absolutely one of the very best teachers on this campus. He had a special gift for helping students learn. Just ask any student who ever had Dr. Stone as an instructor. Marvin's talents and accomplishments were recognized not only here at OSU, but around the country and internationally. The list of his awards and honors is probably longer than some people's entire resumes. He was literally at the very top of his profession. So someone that smart and that capable and that accomplished must have really had a big ego, right? Wrong. Marv was extremely humble, to a fault, really. Sure, he was self-confident, and he certainly wasn't a wallflower, but never once did I see Marvin elevate himself by putting down someone else. He had a mindset of service to others. Rather than building a resume or climbing the ladder, he was always focused on working with others and achieving meaningful impacts, making a difference, in other words. And wow, did he ever succeed at that. Marv always seemed to be in a good mood with a smile on his face. Sure, he could get a little frustrated when things were especially hectic, but he rarely complained or showed anger. So in the department, how could we tell if he might be extra busy or a bit agitated? Well, he would walk a little faster, or his face would get just a little bit redder, or he would display his signature move, the waving of his hand across his hair. I can't do that justice, but some of you know that move very well. I indicated that Marv was always upbeat and positive, and that's true, but he really lit up when Bonnie was with him. They were best friends and partners for life. When you saw one of them around town, it was nearly always with the other. Before Marvin retired and when he wasn't traveling, he and Bonnie had lunch together each day in our department. Other faculty and staff joined in around the table with their brown bags as well. One thing I remember is that Bonnie would come in with a single lunch container that they both ate out of. I'm not sure who packed the lunch, but I think it was Bonnie because there were always healthy things like carrots and oranges. We all have quirks, and Marvin wasn't immune. We've been reminiscing the last few days about the unique vests that he wore. I'd like to tell you that those vests were stylish, but that really wouldn't be a very accurate statement. Also, Marvin loved to use the word interesting in conversation. So often he would say interesting or very interesting or that's interesting, but I think he must have used the word as a signal for his brain to go into high gear. Finally, I have to tell you about his cell phone, which was a flip phone relic. Here's a guy that knew more about electronics than any one person should. He could build a circuit board or program in assembly language. But he was carrying around a dinosaur of a phone. I suspect it was just to make him a little less accessible so that he would get a break from all the folks that wanted a piece of his time and expertise. Marvin dearly loved his family. You know, guys typically don't talk a lot with other guys about their parents or siblings or nieces and nephews, but Marvin would bring them up in conversation, especially just before or after a trip to Colorado. The annual excursion to Flagler at Christmas was something that Bonnie and Marv always looked forward to, and I have a hunch they treated their nieces and nephews pretty darn well. Last Wednesday morning, Marvin and I and several other retired faculty and spouses had breakfast together. We do this once a month, just catching up and enjoying each other's company. I wish I had a recording or transcript of everything we visited with Marvin about. Yes, I had questions for him because I never passed up an opportunity to tap his expertise. Also, I remember that Marv shared a bit about his current consulting projects, and we teased him about that phone. And he talked about Bonnie and how excited she was that their season basketball tickets had arrived. My last conversation with him out in the parking lot was about an award support letter he was going to write for a prominent Chinese engineer. I consider it a privilege and a joy to have known Marvin and Bonnie. So many of us feel blessed to have crossed paths with them. To Mrs. Stone and all the family here tonight, thank you so much for being here. At this very difficult time, it really helps us in the OSU and Stillwater communities to have you in our midst. Please know that we will cherish the memories of Marvin and Bonnie.
Good evening. Thank you for being here to celebrate Marv and Bonnie's life with us. Last night when Jane contacted me on behalf of Dr. Koon and asked me to remember Marv and Bonnie tonight from the students' viewpoint, I can't tell you how humbling a task that is. As his last grad student, I'm just flattered to be given that opportunity to honor the man that made my dreams come true. And that's what Marv and Bonnie were to all of us. They facilitated dreams for us. I asked many of our grads to send me a note through email or through chat, just with a word, some descriptors about their experiences with Marv and their memories of Marv and Bonnie. And I received hundreds of words like brilliant, joyful, genuine, understated, uplifting and inspirational, true, kind and fun, patient, mentor and supporter, selfless and dedicated, servant leader, role models, and the word that kept coming in every message, humble. Marv and Bonnie were both humble. Several students commented that they would ask a question like all students do, and then you look at your question and you know the instructor's thinking, just how stupid are you? But not Marv. He always had time to explain anything and everything to every student and answer any question. And he did that in a way that anyone could understand it. Matt Steinert, one of our master's graduates and that had worked really closely with Marv, he said, "I think Marv could teach differential equations to a Neanderthal." And I think Matt was right. Regardless of our academic success, whether we had a high GPA or maybe we were one of those that was taking our second and third attempt at calculus or the engineering sciences, that didn't matter to Marv. Marv spent the time with us just like we were the 4.0 brainiac of the class. He had a keen eye for a good engineer, and it didn't matter whether they had the GPA or the accolades. He could spot that talent, and he was dead on. Marv and Bonnie and Marv, I'm not sure how you say that because they were a pair. Either way, they adopted every one of us. We were a part of your family because they made us feel that way, and we heard all about you and what a great family and that you'd given to Bonnie also. Very special. We feel like we know you before we even met you this week. Marv cared for all of us, not only for our technical skills, but also our personal well-being. As graduate students, that's when your life starts to unfold, and Marv and Bonnie held us while our marriages failed. They helped us welcome new children into this life. And Marv was a joker. The family, I know, saw him as a joker, but you don't expect your graduate advisor and the chair of your committee to have that kind of a sense of humor. But Marv had this green pair of shoes. They looked just like Kermit the Frog's feet. But Marv would wear those shoes when we went to the field to do our hard work because he knew they made us smile. They knew it would lighten the load of the long hours that we spent out in the field with research, and Marv was there to give us a smile along with all of the technical information and help that he could give us. Bonnie and Marv provided a marriage example, a relationship example to so many students on this campus, and it was beyond compare. They just simply completed each other in a way that if you were around them, you'd know that they both felt like they had just won the lottery, and their smiles showed that. We saw Marv in the classroom and in the lab, but sometimes we didn't always get to see the quiet things, the workings throughout the rest of the campus that was always to benefit the students. When I was offered my dream job to be a faculty member here at OSU, there were some glitches in the accounting system of my transcript. Marv quietly went to the top administration on this university campus to make that be right. And even to last week, he never admitted to me that he did that, and I know that he did. Well, the story didn't end there. When we got ready to transcript and finalize my graduation so I could take my dream job here in Ag Hall in the BAE department, our beloved sis would not let the documentation of that go through, and I wasn't going to be able to take my job. You guessed it. Guess who fixed that problem? It was Bonnie. So Bonnie, you know, she was still completing Marv and his work, and she was still fighting for the students on this campus, and that happened over and over with so many students, and many of us will never know what that impact is. Amidst the humility and all the accolades of influencing the world of agriculture more than any other scientist in our generation, Marv and Bonnie gave us dreams. They gave each student the technical skills and the personal skills to follow those dreams. But most importantly, what Marv and Bonnie both gave to us is the self-confidence that we could reach those dreams. And for that, every student they ever touched is very humbly grateful. And we want to thank the family for sharing them with us for 24 years, and their memory will live on forever on this campus. Thank you.
Good evening. It is an honor to be able to say a few words tonight. And it's so comforting and so heartwarming to see the numbers of people who knew Marvin and Bonnie and were positively impacted by that relationship all gathered here to celebrate their lives. At the same time, anyone who knew Bonnie knows she would be so mad at us for having this type of display and focusing this attention on her. Despite that, Bonnie and Marv both certainly deserve to be honored and to be remembered. Bonnie has been a loyal OSU employee since 1982. I remember her sharing stories with me about those old punch cards they used in payroll and about the fact that she dropped a big stack of them that were just about to be processed and had to get them all back in order. I have had the honor of working with Bonnie on a daily basis since 2004. She was one of the most hardworking people you would ever meet and was always focused on serving the campus in ways that went above and beyond, but always behind the scenes and always without drawing attention to herself. As director of the Institutional Research and Information Management Office where Bonnie worked, I often received phone calls and emails from people across campus expressing their gratitude for the help Bonnie had given them within our SIS system. Just a few of these examples, at the end of each semester, faculty have to go in and they have to enter all the grades for the courses they taught. We have faculty who inevitably have problems or questions when they have to have this process. I would see Bonnie headed out of our office to head over and help and sit with the faculty to wherever their office was, sit with them, answer any questions they had, and make sure their grades were entered correctly. When we have grades due at midnight, Bonnie would actually divert her office phone to her cell phone so that those faculty members who are sitting in front of their computers at 11:55 trying to get their grades entered could actually call Bonnie and get questions answered if there were problems. Bonnie also helped with new student orientation for many years. I can't even imagine the number of freshmen and transfers who Bonnie patiently interacted with, helped explain how to set up their passwords, and helped those students whose mother had set up their password but not told them what it was. I think it's very appropriate that this memorial is being held for both Bonnie and Marvin together. As most people have said this evening, and as anyone who knew them knows, you rarely saw one without the other. In fact, I'll be honest and tell you I've been a little nervous this evening that I would get tongue-tied and refer to them as Marvin and Monty instead. They were truly a match set in every sense. Even though Marvin retired back in 2006, I don't think I ever knew that he really retired. I think he was on campus every day, and I know we saw him at our office for lunch with Bonnie every day. I think Dr. Elliott referred to Bonnie coming over to their department when Marvin was a faculty member. After he retired, he came to us. I would walk in our kitchen. He and Bonnie would be in fixing sandwiches or salads or soup. I would usually walk through the kitchen and ask them what the special was that day. And then I would see them at the end of the lunch hour. They would be doing the dishes, putting things away, and putting things up for the next lunch. In all of the tragedy of this weekend, I am comforted that they were together and that they are still together. When I was looking around Bonnie's office earlier this week, my attention was drawn to a framed quote by Harry S. Truman that I had actually never noticed in Bonnie's office. It was tucked away in a corner. It read, "It is amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit." More than anything else I could say this evening, I think that sums up Bonnie and Marv. Why all of our department and throughout OSU, why we were so fortunate to know them, and why they will be so greatly missed. Thank you, and thank you so much to the family for being here. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we will go with you. Thank you.
When I came to Oklahoma State a little over a year ago, a number of people asked me, what was it about the place that made you decide you wanted to go there? And invariably, my answer was the president. The kind of people who provide leadership at this university are exceptional, and we've seen that demonstrated, unfortunately, but very powerfully over the last week. It's my honor to introduce President Burns Hargis, and I recognize Mrs. Ann Hargis, who have been tremendous leaders for us over the last week.
Thank you, Tom. Well, this has been another very difficult time for us here at Oklahoma State. These past few days have just been miserable. And we have, Ann and I have visited many of the survivors, well, all the survivors that were in the hospitals. But the loss of these four precious people has probably been the hardest. This afternoon, we buried little Nash Lucas, 2.5 years old. Nikita Nakal is on her way back to India. And then, of course, there's Bonnie and Marvin. And in many ways, Bonnie and Marvin had been a member of our family for so many years that this is equally difficult. I think Christy's right. I mean, they were a pair. They were one. They really were joined in every possible way. You know, Lillian Gish said that you make a living in this world by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. I just don't think anybody could have given more than Bonnie and Marvin did to this university and to our students. Not only their expertise and their ability to cut through red tape and to explain difficult concepts, but they also created a scholarship program for our students. And as it becomes more and more difficult for students to come to college and to make it all the way through without crippling debt, that scholarship is an incredible blessing. And I hope that more people, I think we will see the scholarship fund grow in Bonnie and Marvin's name, because it is a symbol now of who they were, of how much they have given. The OSU family is really a family. It's not just a cliche. It's talked about a lot, and it's referred to a lot, but I know it's true. I know that this place is different, and it's how we respect each other and how we care for each other, and how in these times of terrible tragedy we come together and embrace and lift up each other. And I think Bonnie and Marvin are a symbol of exactly what this family is all about. So I think our tribute to them is to treat each other and others exactly like they treated each other and they treated us. It's to lift ourselves up. It's to not look through people, but look at and embrace people. These were two wonderful human beings. And the idea that they are gone is not only painful, but, if we think about it, inspirational. Frankly, I want to be just like them. And I know you do too. So let's just remember that Bonnie and Marvin, unlike a lot of people that go through life, not only made a living, but they made a life because they gave so much to us all. God bless them both and all that we've lost and all those that are recovering.
It was a treat for me yesterday to sit with Beth and Lenny and Rick and hear some of the stories of Bonnie and Marvin, their escapades, I guess I would say, on the farm. Marvin, I mentioned earlier, he was an inventor. Maybe he was a bit of a tinkerer too, it sounds like. No machine couldn't be improved. And sometimes they got improved beyond where they should be. So there was some fallibility there. But I'm sure it was not a fault of Marvin's genius. It was a fault of the material. I'm sure the metal was the culprit. We thank those of you who have shared with us this evening, President Hargis, Dr. Elliott, Dr. Jones, Ms. Hawkins. It really helps to be able to share some thoughts about these wonderful people. I wanted to let you know that Air Force Detachment 670 at Oklahoma State University wishes to honor Dr. and Mrs. Stone, led by Cadet First Lieutenant Cody Conley and Cadet First Lieutenant Austin Ludden. They will fly an American flag at the ROTC building on the day of the Stones' funeral, Monday, November 2nd, 2015, in memory of Dr. Marvin Stone and Mrs. Bonnie Stone. At the end of the day, the flag will be lowered, retired, and preserved in a shadow box. The flag and a photo of the cadets at the flagpole will be presented to the family members later. The cadets of Air Force Detachment 670 extend their most sincere condolences to the family. At this time, please stand if you're able to do so. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember, to reflect, and to honor Bonnie and Marvin Stone. Please begin lighting the candles. As we join together in this symbolic act of unity, please join Rhonda Koon in song as we celebrate the redemptive power of Marvin and Bonnie's love by singing the first verse of Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you all for being here. God bless all of you, and please travel home safely tonight. Thank you.